Imagine being one of the most influential figures in history, a brilliant orator, philosopher, and staunch defender of the Roman Republic. This is Marcus Tullius Cicero, a man often celebrated for his intellectual contributions and eloquent speeches. However, beneath his polished rhetoric and lofty ideals lay a profound flaw: his narcissism. Cicero's belief in his own indispensability, his sense of moral superiority, and his overconfidence in his ability to control others, such as the young Octavian, would ultimately lead to his tragic downfall. How did a man of such immense talent and intelligence fall so spectacularly in the brutal world of Roman politics? Let's delve into the psychological traits that shaped Cicero's political decisions and how his inflated sense of self-importance ultimately led to his demise. Cicero's political career was defined by his unwavering belief that he was the savior of the Roman Republic. His early success in exposing and quashing the Catiline conspiracy in 63 BCE bolstered his sense of indispensability. Cicero believed that he alone possessed the wisdom, integrity, and rhetorical skill necessary to preserve the Republic from internal decay and external threats. This so-called hero complex manifested in his self-image as the father of the fatherland, a title he embraced after thwarting Catiline's coup. This success cemented his perception that without him, Rome would inevitably fall into tyranny. Cicero's sense of moral superiority further compounded his belief that he was not only politically indispensable, but also morally superior. He cast himself as the Republic's conscience, standing against corruption and populism. However, this moral absolutism blinded him to the changing political landscape, making him seem increasingly out of touch with the realities of power. One of the clearest examples of Cicero's overconfidence and ultimately his fatal miscalculation was his attempt to manipulate Gaius Octavian, the future Augustus. After Julius Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE, Cicero perceived Mark Antony as the greatest threat to the Republic. Believing he could prop up the young and inexperienced Octavian as a pawn to defeat Antony, Cicero dramatically misread Octavian's ambition. He famously referred to Octavian as someone to be praised, honored, and then discarded. In his mind, Octavian was merely a tool to restore the Senate's power. What Cicero failed to recognize was that Octavian was positioning himself for ultimate control over Rome. Far from being a malleable figure, Octavian had his own ambitions that far surpassed Cicero's expectations. Cicero's attempt to use Octavian against Antony backfired spectacularly. Instead of being the puppet Cicero envisioned, Octavian outmaneuvered both Cicero and the Senate by forming an alliance with Antony and Lepidus in the Second Triumvirate. This alliance led to the proscriptions, a political purge targeting Cicero and others. Cicero's overconfidence in his ability to manipulate Octavian ultimately resulted in his name appearing on the list of enemies to be eliminated. Cicero's strong sense of moral superiority also played a significant role in his downfall. He considered himself the embodiment of Roman virtues: honesty, justice, and duty. While this provided him a powerful platform to oppose figures like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, it also rendered him inflexible and dismissive of those who didn't share his ideals. Cicero's moral absolutism often led him to alienate potential allies. His attacks on Antony in the Philippics were not just political, but deeply personal. He portrayed Antony as a corrupt, immoral figure, unworthy of leading Rome. While these speeches showcased his rhetorical brilliance, they further entrenched Antony's animosity towards Cicero, making reconciliation impossible. This strong sense of moral superiority also blinded Cicero to the pragmatic realities of Roman politics. He viewed the political arena as a battleground for ideals, but in reality, it was a battleground for power. Leaders like Caesar, Antony, and Octavian understood that power, not virtue, was key to survival. Cicero's refusal to engage in realpolitik left him vulnerable to those more willing to play the ruthless game of Roman politics. Throughout his career, Cicero consistently overestimated his ability to control events and people. He believed his rhetorical skill and intellectual brilliance could steer Rome away from chaos. This overestimation of control was evident during the Catiline conspiracy. Cicero's handling of the crisis gave him a sense of invincibility. His speeches denouncing Catiline were powerful, and his decision to execute conspirators without trial was framed as decisive leadership. However, this action later contributed to his exile, as it was viewed as an overreach of power. Cicero's belief that he could control the narrative ultimately backfired. The misjudgment of Antony further illustrates Cicero's overconfidence. His scathing philippics against Antony were another example of his hubris. Cicero believed that his oratory alone could destroy Antony's political career and restore the Republic. Yet, instead of weakening Antony, these speeches fueled Antony's determination to eliminate Cicero. Cicero's conviction that he could control the political conversation with rhetoric alone proved to be a fatal error. In the end, Cicero's narcissism, his belief in his own indispensability, his moral superiority, and his ability to manipulate others directly led to his downfall. When the Second Triumvirate came to power, Cicero's enemies finally had the opportunity to silence him. His name was added to the proscription lists, and in 43 BCE, he was captured and executed. His severed hands and head were displayed in the Roman Forum as a grim reminder of the dangers of political miscalculation. Cicero's belief that he could navigate the treacherous waters of Roman politics without adjusting to the realities of power cost him his life. While his speeches and ideals were noble, they could not save him from the brutal political environment of Rome. Cicero's philosophical and rhetorical contributions to Western thought are undeniable, but his political career is often remembered for its tragic end. His narcissism not only fueled his ambition, but also led to his ultimate downfall, overshadowing his intellectual achievements with the story of a man who believed too much in his own invulnerability. Cicero's political career offers a fascinating study in how narcissism can fuel ambition but also lead to destruction. His belief in his own indispensability, his moral absolutism, and his overconfidence in controlling others, particularly Octavian, were key factors in his fall. Cicero's tragic end reminds us that even the most talented individuals can be undone by their inflated sense of self-worth. In the world of Roman politics, where power was paramount, Cicero's reliance on his rhetorical brilliance and moral superiority left him vulnerable to those who understood the true rules of the game. While his intellectual legacy endures, Cicero's downfall serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of hubris in the political arena. If you enjoyed this exploration of Cicero's life and the psychological factors behind his downfall, please like this video and subscribe for more fascinating content. Share your thoughts in the comments about how Cicero's story resonates with modern political figures and their challenges. Let's keep the conversation going.